just to add, if there are new team members that are in there, so
Let's fix the light here and show the camera, everything here. Yeah. And show the light. Okay.
This functionality won't be used that platform. It's like they already have. It's like it'll be only used when they by joins the company.
the same thing, it's just like again for the client, you have to add the employee ID, find it, and you'll be able to modify and see where it's going to be.
Web-based dot.
And next for the add policy.
Based on technical project
Yeah, so I have to add the project. So this time after you add project, so it will automatically send out email to every employee who will be associated with this project with the exactly the task which is assigned to each employee.
when we are doing the upload video, we are not uploading the text file. Yeah. And photo also. We want the text file. And photo also. We are not doing the video because it's not showing. Video is not showing in the upload video only text file. I will explain update for me. When I explain, you will update this one. This thing
So here is assigned two tasks. The first one is money. So when you assign tasks, you don't know which task without typing in this letter, so you will make sure that.
register number. Oh, this is Baba. When you explain,
So each team member can do one task?
No, each member can do multiple tasks.
explain.
You can again have the Mangi and assign.
So how do we get Sarabi doing something else?
Yeah, and
Change the left drop.
okay, next. So
Okay.
right now the email has been sent out. So here is
I can open email, planning email.
here is Himangi. So we will know like one new
No,
project.
it's still not yet.
Baba, you do post.
Okay, it's here.
Yeah.
Yes, here. So it's here. So this one is the email. So it will show the list. So everyone can know where they can communicate inside or direction their task.
And even like before we were adding the project, we were not adding the charge amount. Right now we are adding the charge amount. Right? So whatever amount has been charged when we do the payment entry, it will automatically minus whatever the money the client will pay to the system, like pay to them, PMS. They will automatically deduct the money from the 5,000 and it shows the balance of automatic.
So now I'm going to modify project. Project name.
Upload media, upload resources.
Yes, already this one. First one.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I will assign one more task.
Magazine songs and photo, and photo. Media and resources.
Yeah.
So we will assign multiple tasks. See,
Uploading, downloading, viewing, checking, everything. Because I don't know.
so we will assign multiple tasks.
Also, this is something.
he will show at and
And then, yeah, he has charged the money as like 5,000. So now I'll show how does the add entry thing work. Okay, so this is our add entry. Okay, so for example, for project ID, this one, and then, yeah, I'm adding the entry. For example, I'm paying the 500.
client makes a payment of.
Okay, yeah, so if I go to the view entry. Okay, so it shows the amount that, okay, first we have like in the project, when we were adding the project, they charge 5,000, and then 500, so it's like 4,500. And then if the next is the report,
It is coming.
yeah, so for example, this time client is paying 1,000. So it's now the balance is the 3,500. So I'm using the trigger for that. So every time it adds the entry, trigger will fire, and then it will calculate the balance. And then when we click on the download report, so it's downloading the report and it shows all the entry what we have in here. So in the report, it will say, okay, what was the time and then date, and then what was the company and project name and all the entries they have paid out. And what's the balance is left.
What's the data type if we go back to your system? Of that table there, is that a grid view?
No, it's not a grid view. It's a table. I'm using the dynamic table.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking, some of the titles look a little computed. I would say, yeah, there's one missing on that side. So. Okay.
Yeah, one more thing, like the weekly email notification, and now I just make it like the project can only manually fire the function. It will collect it will select for the project, so which the starting and ended it's the started date is less than today's date, and the ended is bigger than this. So we will select all these projects and just check each one and send out the email to every employee who is associated with the project. So it means right now, I think it will.
So you didn't do it as a standalone little executable?
No, it's just working.
So one of the things you're learning about client server systems
Yeah.
is time things apart,
Yeah.
from that side. So you're assigning tasks to employees.
Yeah.
The system is striking me as more of a billing system than a project management system. So if I've been assigned a task to create a database, how do we know that the task was done or not completed or the time it was completed? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The thing is, it's communicated in between the team.
So this is more to handle, I think, billing back to the
Client,
client.
we had this question to them, the client as well, and they said they don't need like the, where the task is going or something, if they wanna do it internally or.
Okay, well, you're building what they're asking for, I would guess, from that side. There's always a rush at the end to get things working. And the working side is the priority. Things need a little bit of a pass over after it has been working to get things going a little bit consistent. So for example, if you go to your project menu or back to add project, what do we see at the very top of the form? What is that? The title, the title's good. So let's look at one of the other menus. And we'll go to employee, add employee. What do we see? Okay, let's try some tasks. Okay, so here we have a title. There's a little bit of formatting difference on the width of the label versus the width of the data element. You've got text boxes that are kind of grayed out, and your submit button is what? It's kind of 3D. You see the little gray behind it. So every form in every menu is a little bit different. So if I asked why, what's the answer? Here's the real answer. Everyone did their own stuff. So when we sit back to look at it, we could start to even figure out who did which piece of what. So from the point that I'm saying, it is functional from that side. In the future, if you were to do another project, how would you ensure a consistent look and feel across everybody's work? What would you do?
Just one person.
Oh, so put all the work on one.
I mean,
That is a method. Make someone in charge of look and feel. It's there, but let's say you only had 4 people and you had lots of work to do. What could you do about that?
Look each other's work.
They set some
Maybe
standards.
Oh, set a standard. What kind of standard?
Design.
A design standard. So if you storyboarded a form in our project, will have a title, we'll have columns this wide, data entries that way, we'll have a button that looks like that, and everybody just designs across that standard. That submit button could be done in the project button style. So then, that's more of an experience design thing, I would say from that point. Because literally, if we look at every last one, it's going to be different. Now, as programmers, do you care about that? It works, right?
Yeah.
It's internal. But people looking back, again, for consistency will from there. So, yeah, and that's why I think a standard up front, I would sit back, and maybe it didn't seem really important then from that particular side. So it's, if you design it to a particular way, then you don't need that one person to go back and put everything together. Design, quite literally, I would be willing to say that every one of those is done a little bit different from that particular side. The modify. I didn't write down modify what. Let's say modify an employee. Let's try that one. This is where one works really good. Okay, so this modify, you have some text boxes that are loaded with a modify button at the bottom that's not 3D. Let's go to modify project. So now you're modifying on a name and not an ID. Okay. But now to modify, you have a grid of some sort with, what do you have on the left? Now, does the modify, does it look like a button? it looks exactly the same as the titles across the top. So what could you do to modify there to show that it's clickable?
Put a button, put a link over to
To the link on that.
Link, get an underline on that, and possibly change the color to highlight it out, just to make it look a little bit different from the other sides. But, yeah, it's just, again, it's, internal use software is kind of a weird thing, because the people will get trained on it, and they'll use it 40 hours a week, and they'll learn to use it regardless of that from the one side. So if this was a public-facing site, I'd be pickier from that particular side. Now, the only reason why I'm pointing this out is I've had my stuff torn to shreds from designers, and that's why I tend to have a habit or a process I follow from that side. Okay, those are the main. So I'm not going to force you to make it consistent. That would be where I use a stick, so I'm not gonna use a stick. I would say if it was more consistent, the mark will go up from that point. That's the carrot. So most everyone's probably gonna be really tired and not wanna do a lot more changes at this point. So I'm gonna leave that choice up to you, but there'll be some marks there. It's gonna be like 5% or something, I would say, on that side. Is that a big enough carrot? Is 5 big enough carrot? Okay, from that side. I like the PDF. Okay, I think that should impress them a little bit for the download from that side. And, yeah, we could have used another week, right? From that side, but
Great.
anyone else have any questions or anything?
Yeah, even I was pretty impressed with it. Maybe I'll be using it in my pizza. Show you how to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah.
It's gonna work. Let's check it. It will work.
It is okay, except for the assistant.
Somehow. Let's see. Let's see if I can. Let's take it.
Not so.